Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something pretty profound, personal change, the power of repentance. But we're going to look at it through a really unique lens, the world of financial markets.
All right, so let's just jump in with a kind of wild idea. What if you could map the human soul on a financial chart? Yeah, what if that constant battle we all feel inside, between what we want to do and what we actually do, could be analyzed just like a currency pair on a trading screen? I know it sounds a little out there, but stick with me. This framework gives us a surprisingly powerful way to see what real change actually looks like.
So here's how we're going to set this up. Think of your spirit and your flesh as a currency pair, like the dollar versus the euro. In any currency pair, you've got a base currency, that's the anchor, and a quote currency that kind of floats against it. For us, the spirit is the base currency. It's the anchor. And the flesh? Well, that's the quote currency. All our impulses, our habits, our behaviors, that's the part that fluctuates. And the big idea here is pretty simple. When the spirit gets stronger, it literally reprices the value of our fleshly impulses. They just lose their power over us.
Okay, so what does it actually look like when this inner marketplace is tanking? When it's in a deep bearish correction? Well, for that, we can actually turn to a pretty ancient text that charts this exact human condition. And the Apostle Paul just nails this feeling, doesn't he? He describes the state perfectly. It's this fractured will, a system where your best intentions are just constantly getting steamrolled by your worst impulses. It's like you want to put all your money on a solid growth stock, but you keep finding yourself shorting your own portfolio. It's this incredibly frustrating internal war for control. So if we actually chart this out, this inner conflict looks like a really volatile, ugly downtrend. You can see it right here, this jagged black line representing the flesh. It's just making a classic pattern of lower highs and lower lows. That's a bear market, plain and simple. And notice, it's not some smooth, gentle slide. No way. It's a jagged, chaotic path. You get these impulsive spikes, a flash of anger, a moment of indulgence. And they're always followed by these gut-wrenching crashes of guilt and regret. It is the very definition of instability. Okay, but here's where this whole market analogy gets really fascinating. Because just like in trading, a collapsing trend, and we're talking about a soul in a downward spiral here, it often gives off a signal, a little flicker that tells you the selling pressure is almost done. It happens right before a huge reversal. So traders have these tools called oscillators to spot exactly these moments. When a stock or a currency gets sold off like crazy, it can fall into what they call an oversold condition. Now, that's no guarantee a reversal is coming, but it's a huge clue. It tells you that the downward momentum is probably running out of gas. The sellers are just tired. So what's the spiritual version of an oversold market? It's that rock bottom moment, right? It's a moment of deep, painful conviction and just total humility. It's that point where you've been so humbled that the pride that was fueling that whole downtrend is finally gone. You're exhausted. And you are finally, fundamentally ready for a real change. All right, so we've hit bottom. The downward momentum is exhausted. But now comes the million-dollar question. What's the catalyst? What's the one thing that can actually trigger the reversal and flip this entire trend from bearish to bullish? And here it is. In this whole framework, repentance is that trend reversal. But we have to be clear. This isn't just about feeling bad or saying you're sorry. No, this is a decisive, market-altering action. It's an event that fundamentally changes the entire game. Think about it like a trader who finally hits the stop loss on a really bad trade. It happens in 3 steps, right? First, you got to acknowledge the trend as a loser. You have to admit the behavior is destructive. Second, you cut the loss decisively. You stop the bleeding and prevent any more damage. You just stop. And third, you open a brand new position in the complete opposite direction. You surrender to God and you kick off a new upward trend. So, the reversal is in. The old, broken down trend is over. But what does this new, healthy bull market of the soul actually look like? What are we looking for on the chart now? Well, instead of that chaotic, jagged line we saw before, you get this, a stable, steady uptrend. The chart is now showing that classic bullish pattern that traders love to see, a clear series of higher highs and higher lows. And listen, this isn't about being perfect overnight. It's about direction. It's about a consistent pattern of upward growth in your character. And just like with the economy, how do we know this new bull market is for real? We check the indicators. And in this case, the fruit of the Spirit that the Bible talks about in Galatians, well, they work exactly like positive economic data. When you start to see these things consistently show up,
Love, joy, peace, patience, self-control. That's what confirms the health and the strength of this new upward trend. And this quote, this one just perfectly sums up the long-term outlook. It completely separates our inner market from whatever is happening on the outside. Your external circumstances could look totally bearish, right? You could feel like you're outwardly wasting away. But inwardly, your inner person can be in the middle of a powerful long-term bull market, getting stronger every single day. And that really leaves us with one final and maybe pretty challenging thought. If you were to be totally honest and chart out your own inner life, your reactions, your habits, your deepest desires, what would that chart actually look like? Are you seeing a pattern of lower lows or higher highs? Is it a bear market or a bull market? And maybe most importantly, is it time for a reversal?